Holy, here we go again, Batman.
Hey guys, you're listening to the NerdSync podcast recorded from Bandy Road Studios. You are going to love this episode. We had the honor of going to the first annual Marble City Comicon. Well, I say we, but really only Bryce went. So he is going to be sitting down with me and talking about his experience, about how he got in, how he got free press passes. That was really cool. And how he got to meet some really cool people, like a guy who sells real-life Minecraft blocks. That was really awesome. He showed me a couple of those in person, and I think that's such a cool idea. And also, he got to sit down with George Perez, the George Perez. And if you want to watch that, the video is on YouTube. I really encourage you to go check it out. He is just the nicest guy. I didn't even believe it, but he did, and he signed my copy of Infinity Gauntlet, which I'm sure I probably mention because that's just so cool of him to do that. And we talk about that and a lot of other things, so just sit back, listen to this episode. It's gonna be fun. Okay, I haven't decided on any sort of crazy intro or anything. I'm gonna adjust my microphone just a little bit more. No, not a musical intro, but just like an intro.
Hey, welcome to the NerdSync podcast.
Oh, live from Bandy Road, because that's
the NerdSync podcast.
You knew that, right?
Bandy Road.
Yeah, we're getting the show on the Bandy Road.
Speaking of which, I looked up Bandy Road on Google, Google Maps, just to see if there was a Bandy Road.
I don't think. So, I mean, I'm sure there is, but I don't think that's why we're named.
Yeah, no. But I just thought it would be really funny. And there is actually a Bandy Road in Tennessee that has a house for sale. So
I think
if we wanted to set up a studio,
that's definitely a sign, and we should look into that.
It was kind of $25,000, but
not at all a coincidence. Well, that's okay because I make $0 right now. So in a couple years, we could still be very far away from getting it. But Bryce, you're here today.
Yes.
You're here to talk about something that happened last week, or was it the week before?
It wasn't this current weekend.
It was a week that happened this year.
It was a week, yes.
Yes, some week within the year of 2014, this happened. Explain to everybody how you managed to get into the Marble City Comicon for free.
Okay,
first of all, what is the Marble City Comicon?
Marble City Comicon was a con that was put on by, and because I know their names, I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to them.
Shout outs.
To the Rays. You guys are awesome because I got in for free, which was a cool thing. So basically they wanted to put on a con, wanted to give the nerd culture here in Knoxville, Tennessee, kind of something to look forward to every year. So they started the first annual Marble City Comicon, which covers, video games, comic books, anime, everything.
Yeah.
Movies, lots of stuff. So I had heard about it, but I had to work Friday and Saturday.
And you heard about it from
work. Yeah, I actually heard about it from work.
And you work at GameStop, for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, for anybody that didn't know that already, I work at GameStop.
And GameStop was sponsoring.
Yeah, GameStop was sponsoring one of the booths there. And so they came in and dropped some flyers, and I had no idea what was going on. So I'm working, and they come in, they're like, yeah, this is for the con and everything. Oh, okay. So they put the flyers down on the counter, and I'm just looking at them like, okay, whatever. But I was working Friday, which was, when everything starts. Cons always start on Friday, unless you go to Dragon Con, in which case there's some preliminary stuff that starts Thursday.
Nobody cares. I'm just kidding. No, basically it's like a whole weekend thing.
The entire weekend, yeah. But yeah, this is going to be a lot of me talking, so I'll go ahead and apologize for that.
No, this is what I wanted, is for me to just sit here and listen to stories that I've already heard. I'm kidding.
So
I will ask questions, though.
Yeah.
I will ask questions that I asked you in real life before, but just so you can explain it to people listening. Right. Yeah.
So I show up, and it was the weirdest thing because I had my girlfriend Laura with me, and she was doing all the recording with the camera, and she's never been to a con, so I was like, okay, I don't know if there's going to be a bunch of crazy people when we get in there, if it's going to be a generally kind of mild con. You know, I was like, I have no idea what to expect, and I know you know even less. So let's just try and do this.
Especially for the first time a con like that, you know, you never know who's going to be there. And I feel like from the very start, that's going to set the tone for the next couple of years almost. So
yeah, and it really did. I feel like well, I'll get to that. When we first pulled up, so we pulled up, and the main strip that goes down downtown Knoxville is called Gay Street, and
seriously,
it's seriously called Gay Street. And when we got there, there were like booths set up everywhere and like food, people cooking out, like all this crazy stuff going on. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like crazy awesome. We got vendors out everywhere. And so I'm thinking it was like the vendor area for the con. And as I'm looking around, I'm not seeing anybody dressed up. I'm not seeing anything video game, comic book, movie, anything related. And I'm
Robert Downey Jr. wasn't there?
No,
he was not this year.
Like all this stuff's going on. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And then I started to realize, oh, this isn't the con. And what it was is there was actually a UT football game going on. Oh. And so this giant crowd that I thought was the con was actually there for the UT football game. And I was like, oh, well, this is sad. So I text my manager at GameStop because she was at the con running the GameStop booth. And she was like, oh, yeah, everything's going on in the convention center. So come down to the convention center. And so I was like, okay. So I'm like, okay, Laura, come on. Let's trek across town to the convention center because the parking was awful. We've got a con, a UT football game, and also it's a Friday night. So everybody's in town anyway. That was the week that Captain America came out. Was it? I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was, weekend. Everybody's looking to be at the movies.
Yep.
Parking nowhere. So we were parked in the middle of nowhere, trekking across town. And when we finally get to the convention center, I'm like, okay, let's do this. And so we stopped, recorded a little bit of me saying stuff about the con. We walk inside, and it's dead silent. I am like, well, we should hear where the commotion's coming from. We'll head that way. Nothing. Just silent nothingness. And I'm just like, okay, well, maybe it's all downstairs because that's where the rooms are that things are supposed to be going on in. And so we go down the stairs, and I'm like not seeing anyone. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what kind of a con is this? Because normally being a relative term, I've been to Dragon Con.
Yeah, you've been to a con, so by that experience, you were expecting everything else to be like that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so I know that at Dragon Con, even when all the events are over for the day, people are hanging out, chatting, talking about stuff, showing off their cosplays. And
I wouldn't know, because I always left before then. I was there for the panels, and when the panels stopped, I went back to the hotel room and slept.
That is true.
And then I got really angry at anyone who made any noise when I was sleeping.
So, I was expecting a lot of people to be out and about, and I got down there, and there's nothing. And I'm just like looking around, and finally I saw a guy and looked like he was dressed up. And I'm like, okay, dude, do you mind if we interview you for NerdSync Productions and stuff? And he goes, dude, I am so drunk. Is there any moonshine on me? And I'm just like,
we have audio of him saying that, don't we?
Yeah, we
do.
Whatever. Cute,
yeah. You ready?
Do I have moonshine all over me still?
Good. All right, you ready? Okay, so we're here at Marble City Comicon. This is the first year they've done this, right?
This is.
What exactly are you doing here? As far as your...
I'm sobering up right at this moment. We are vendors. We are leaving. We're going to find another party.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So what were you selling while you were here?
We were selling stuff that... Nerd stuff.
Nerd stuff? So this vendor... So he was the only person I could find. And this is, Laura, my homeschooled girlfriend, who's never been to a con, here with me. And the first thing out of his mouth, he's super drunk. And he looks at my girlfriend and goes, wow, you're cute.
That's so creepy.
And I was just like,
when you were describing this to me the first time, I pictured just like your average kind of maybe guy in his 20s or 30s. This is an old guy.
Oh yeah, this is like a 40-year-old,
with like
45,
long white hair.
Yeah, slightly balding on top. Got the beard and mustache.
So this is a little bit creepier than what I imagined.
It was really weird. And like for the interview, I was like, so like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh yeah, I'm a vendor. And I'm like, well, what do you sell? And he goes, nerdy stuff. Yeah, well,
what kind of stuff?
Yeah, well,
elaborate,
what
please.
kind of stuff? Oh, just comics and stuff. Oh, okay.
You are the best interview subject I've ever had.
And then he's like, is this the first time you've interviewed anybody? Because you're having a lot of trouble. And I'm like, it's really just because you don't know how to answer questions.
Because you then, the next day, not to jump ahead, but I'm going to jump ahead. The next day you tried to interview him again.
I tried again.
You're like, I'm on my ball today. I got this. I'm going to interview you right now. Take 2. Let's do this. And he was equally as bad?
He was equally as bad, if not worse. He wasn't drunk this time. Like, I could tell that he was all there. But same thing. Like, I was like, so what are you doing here? He's like, yeah, I sell this stuff. And I was like, well, do you have any particular thing that's your favorite? And he goes, no, not really. And I was like, oh. Okay, well, what have you enjoyed about the con so far? Well, I really didn't do much.
You are a really interesting person.
Okay. And then he took my microphone away from me and started interviewing me, and I was like, this is weird. I'm not okay. Like, Laura's looking at me like, should I cut it? Do I keep recording? And I'm just like, I don't know.
He hijacked your interview.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
So those are the kind of people that I like to actively avoid.
Yes.
At cons and stuff.
That was who I was hoping not to meet.
I like people like me who don't want to talk to anybody and just kind of wander around and, be really socially awkward and stuff. I mean, when I was at Dragon Con and I only dressed up for like one day as Agent Coulson. And I was just walking around, and maybe like a handful of people recognized me as Agent Coulson. And they were like, oh, you Agent Coulson? I was like, yeah. And they're like, that's so cool. And I'm like, yeah. I don't know how to talk to people in real life.
You weren't like, oh yeah, look, this is how I made my awesome gun.
No, that's
thing.
something Josh would do. Josh would be like, well, here, so what I did was this, and he would be like really friendly to people and really engage with them and everything. That's not me. I'm just the most anti-social, unsociable, I think is the word.
Yeah, I felt kind of bad because I left you guys behind a couple times.
I did not care.
Well, yeah, because you ended up, I think you stuck with people pretty much though when you guys were going to stuff, but like the events or people talking that I wanted to go to, I just was like, I'm going to go do this now, and I took off.
Yeah, I did that a couple times, but mostly it was whenever things would go terribly because we talked about this a little bit on one of our Dragon Con videos. Whenever I was alone waiting in a line and nobody knew me and I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
Things would always go terribly for me. Things would happen like they would think I was cutting even though I'd been there for hours, so they sent me to the back of the line and I never got in. That was really frustrating. And there was just a lot of other horrible things that happened.
Yeah.
It was not a fun time for me.
But if you want to check that out, we
go
got
to our
Dragon Con
YouTube
videos.
Go to our YouTube channel, search Dragon Con. We have a couple videos of that stuff. Anyway, Dragon Con, known for cosplay. Not a lot of cosplay at...
Apparently there was. I heard from a lot of people that there was some really good cosplay like the first 2 days. Like Friday night, a lot of cosplay. Saturday morning during the events, a lot of cosplay. I got there Saturday night. Nothing.
So you missed it.
I missed most of it. And so, I was just like hanging out for a while. Finally, we didn't really meet anybody else. The only thing going on was they had a game room open where people were playing like 1 day campaigns of World of Warcraft, or not World of Warcraft, Dungeons and Dragons,
yeah.
And like a bunch of tabletop games set up in the game room. But other than that, everything had pretty much ended for that day, and I was like, oh well, this is really kind of sad.
But then your luck turned around.
Not immediately. Laura and I decided to go get dinner, so we left, and it was maybe like 9:00. The convention center closed down at 10. So it was like 9:00, and I turned and looked at Laura, and she was ready to go back to the school and go back to her dorm. And I was like, I know this is going to sound super lame and dumb of me to make you do this, but will you come with me back to the convention center. And she goes, "You want me to walk across town again?" And I was like, "I will carry you on my back." I don't know. I had like a gut feeling. I was like, I just want to go back.
You knew something was going to happen.
It's like I knew. It was super crazy.
You had like the force came over you and you're like, I can feel it. I can feel that my destiny is calling.
Force is leading me. But yeah, so we ended up walking back to the convention center. The entire time I felt awful because I was dragging my girlfriend along with me. We get into the convention center once again, dead. Nobody there. I'm just kind of wandering around like, oh, there's nobody here. So we go back down to actually the exact spot that we had interviewed the drunk guy. And this lady comes bursting out of a side door. Now, I had seen her previously in the day talking to this like lady in like a rabbit looking costume.
Oh gosh.
And yeah, it was this is just a really funny story to me. She comes out and I looked at her and I was like, "Hey, you're with the con. Do you mind like," because I was desperate for an interview. I was like,
I need something.
Yeah, I was like,
I dragged my girlfriend here.
Exactly. I was like, I need this to be worthwhile. I was like, "Do you mind like letting us interview you for a few seconds?" And she was like, "This is gonna sound weird. Can you peek around the corner and see if there's a lady in a rabbit costume?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess I can." So I just kind of nonchalantly leaned backwards until I was like past the edge of the wall, and I'm like, "Yeah, there's a lady in it." And she goes, "Okay, come with me." And she just like she like just takes off running at this like side door, just like an employees only door.
Yep.
And so we go through this door and she leads us down into like the guts of the convention center. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on? We're going to be murdered." I dragged my girlfriend here with me. She's just following me blindly. She has no idea what's going on. I'm kind of comfortable with the situation because I don't know.
Because you're a man.
Yeah. Actually,
surrounded by two women.
Going into a deep, dark,
and perhaps
scary
a third in a bunny costume for later.
Perhaps a bunny costume lady. So we continue down this back hall and she goes, "Okay, good. She can't come in here." And I was like, "Okay." I didn't know what to say. And she's
Sure,
like,
yeah, sure.
She's like, "I promise I'm not this mean, but I've been trying to get away from that woman for 2 hours now." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that sounds awful." And she's like, "So what are you guys doing?" And I told her, about NerdSync and stuff, that we wanted some interviews. And she's like, "Well, hey, we got an independent film director over here in this other room. Do you want to just come in and talk to him?" And I was like, Sure,
why not?
Yeah, go ahead. So she took us into this room where they were showing the film, and we sat down on the side of this film director dude. And she's like, "Hey, there are people here with a podcast. They want to know if they can interview you." And he's like, "Not right now. I'm watching my masterpiece."
I am artist.
He was literally, I don't mean to say he's a bad guy, because I'm sure he's pretty cool, and I would probably do the same thing. But he was like, "No, I'm watching my masterpiece."
I kind of see where he's coming from, though, because everyone else was watching it and he was watching it with an audience.
Because he needed to know
he needed to see the feedback of his work and how well it's being received. So I kind of get that.
Yeah, I understood it too. It was just like, I was like, "Oh, we came all this way."
I also picture this guy with a beret and glasses.
No, he didn't. Well, he did have some really big frame glasses.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Giant frame glasses. That's how I imagine him.
No beret though. Or maybe he didn't. I don't know if he was the. Anyway,
let's pretend he has a beret.
Let's pretend he has a beret and glasses.
Yeah.
So he's just like, "No, I can't do interviews right now." So she's like, "Okay, all right, we'll go the other way." Meanwhile, Laura, who is there again, somebody who's not been influenced by this culture, I guess, this kind of like con culture. She turns and looks at the screen where this independent film is playing. And we proceed to see a man get a fish hook jabbed into the roof of his mouth and dragged across the ground into a lawnmower where copious amounts of blood just spurt all over the screen. And she looks down at the floor and goes, and I was just like, "Oh gosh, please don't throw up. Oh my gosh." Because I was like,
that would have ruined everything.
That would have been terrible. Yeah. And so I'm like, just look away. I'm so sorry. I was like, "I'm so sorry you had to see this." And so
that is so funny to me.
Yeah. I felt so bad because I'm like, I dragged her here. Now she's going to throw up. I'm a terrible boyfriend.
So she doesn't like gore. She's not used to seeing a lot of gory movies?
Not really. It's the gore in that video is very hyper realistic. It even made me a little queasy. And I was just like, this needs to...
Was it like... I think one of the most gory movies for no reason that I've seen was like Ninja Assassin, where it's
Yeah.
just over the top,
All the time
ridiculous.
blood.
Someone gets pushed into a wall and their head explodes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, because the guy got. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this film.
Well, you haven't said the name or the guy.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's
doesn't know.
just say yes, you are allowed.
So yeah, he got pulled under the lawnmower, and this is what I mean by just ridiculous amounts of blood. I'm assuming his head was sliced to pieces when he got pulled under this lawnmower.
That seems to be what would logically happen.
Yes. When normally you would think that being underneath the lawnmower, the blood should like spray out from under the lawnmower or something like that. But instead we had a view of like the top of the lawnmower, and there's just like a straight stream of blood, like just spraying straight forward out of the front of the mower.
I don't know how else you would do it.
It just looked awful.
That seems right to me.
Awful as in nasty, like gory, not awful as
But
in
the effects
terrible
were
effects.
good, right?
Kind of. It's an independent
It
film.
was shot with an iPhone. And
Probably. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
hey, man, I've done that before.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it looks pretty good. So
You just got to know how to use it. Anyway,
Anyway.
not important.
not important. So we leave that room because she's like, oh, well, he doesn't want to get an interview right now. We leave
Yep.
the room and we go backstage, and she's like, well, hey. She goes, sorry you couldn't interview him tonight, but how about you guys come back tomorrow and I'll give you some free press passes. And I was just like, wait, what?
At this point, I get a text on my phone that says, I just scored press passes for tomorrow. And I said, I think I want to say that I probably quoted, or I don't know. I have it on my phone. I don't really care. I probably said, you're my favorite person right now, because that sounds like something I would say.
That wasn't what you said. That wasn't what you said this time.
I said that about
You
the
were
other
like,
time.
did you actually get them or?
Oh, because earlier you told me that you were going to print fake press passes.
Oh, no. Yeah, I said, I wonder if I printed a fake press pass, if they would just be like, okay. And that like whoever the security guard was would just let me walk
He
in.
just says like Peter Parker press pass. And they're like, all right.
You're good. But, no, so she's just like, yeah, just come back tomorrow, get some free press passes. And I was like, oh, are you like, one of the people hosting this? And she's like, well, I'm married to the guy that's running the con. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're like,
You have an in.
yeah, we're like here with the wife of the man who's running this con. And so I was like, well, this is incredible. Thank you so much. And I was like super excited. So overall, that day was awful though. Didn't get to talk to anybody at all.
It was
Hardly.
a complete wash.
It was so bad.
Did not even.
My
care for
legs
it.
and my feet were so tired from walking around. And
Laura
I felt
hated
awful.
you.
Yeah,
Your relationship was on the brink.
I don't know if it got that bad, but there were a couple times when we were walking, I think she was legitimately upset with me.
She was like calculating how fast she could run away from you
Yeah,
before
'cause-
you would notice.
There was the thing is I was like, well, I really want to go, but I don't want to just leave you here. And she's like, well, I don't feel like walking. I'm like, well, I'll carry you then. She's
Wait,
like,
did you actually carry her?
no.
Oh.
No. She ended up just walking. She's like, no, I'm not going to make you carry me. Come on, let's go.
And you said, too late, I've committed, hop on.
Get on my back.
My word is legally binding. Get on my back.
But yeah, so we left for that night. And I was a little upset, but at the same time, I was like, well, hey, we got press passes for tomorrow. That's awesome.
Well, I imagine at this point, Laura probably said something like, yay. Like very
Well, she was-
unenthusiastically.
She was a lot more up until the point that we were promised press passes.
Mm-hmm.
She was still very kind of like, my legs are tired. You're making me walk around.
Yeah.
Let's go home.
And
And-
so then everything turned around.
Then everything turned around because we got press passes.
And then the next day,
and I thanked her a lot. And I was like, thank you for walking with me. You're the best. I love you. So we next day,
yep.
show up super early. And it was a crazy day, first of all, because also on this day was the only day that I was allowed to, I had to go visit a place for one of my projects that I was doing in a class. And I had to be there at 11 o'clock. So it was like,
Oh, that's right. You
Yeah.
told me about that.
yeah, I got up at like 9, was in town by like 9:45.
And you stayed there for how long?
Oh wait, no, we got in at about 8:30. Stayed there for about 2 hours. And so it was like we were cutting it so close to me being to where I needed to be for my project.
Right.
Stayed there for about 2 hours. But the cool thing is as soon as we walk in, we meet the guy that's running the con. Really cool guy. He's just like,
and because you're there so early,
because
nobody's there.
Nobody's here yet.
They're still kind of setting everything up.
Yeah, the people that are actually like bought their passes for the cons that are just like, people at the con, are all standing outside the door. It was funny because security didn't stop us. One of the like security guards that was walking around, I was like, hey, we're supposed to talk to the Rays about getting a press pass and stuff. And she was like, oh yeah, just go ahead and walk through those doors right there. You'll be fine. And so we went down an escalator, and I know that the security guard at the door did not hear that other lady say this. And so we just looked determined that this is where we were supposed to go. And
you got to look confident.
Yeah, I think that's all it was, is we were just like, we know what we're doing. And he was like, okay. And he let us walk in the door.
And then he like did a fist bump towards you, and you're like, yeah, we're cool.
Maybe not that much, but that would have been.
And then he like followed you on Twitter, and then
and Instagram and YouTube, and
like just a blooming friendship. Now he gives you Christmas cards every year, and it's just escalated pretty quickly. And he was guarding an escalator.
Yeah, he was at the bottom of the escalator. So yeah, we just waltzed in. Into the vendor area where all the vendors were still setting up for the day, and walk up to the booth. We met the lady that we had talked to. I feel so bad because I'm pretty sure her name is Markeisha, but
what did you say?
I think it's I think I said Markeisha.
Okay.
I don't. Okay. Anyway,
why do you feel bad?
Because she told me her name, her husband's name, her sister's name, and she was like, "Just find any of us, and we'll give you the press passes."
And
I
you
was like,
immediately
"Okay, awesome."
forgot everyone's name.
And I immediately forgot everybody's name.
Yep.
And then I started mixing people's names together, and I was like, "Marshila? No, that's not right. Mariah? No." And so I just didn't say people's names. I just walked up and I was like, "Oh, hey, you from yesterday? Remember me?" Yeah. So I walked up, they gave us the press passes, and I was like, I looked at her husband and I was like, just to be clear, don't want to overstep any bounds. What am I allowed to do with this? He's like, well, this gets you into any of the events here at the con. And I was like, okay, cool. But really on the last day, which was Sunday, there wasn't really a lot going on. There was like some meet and greets, but I also had access to some of the back areas anyway because I had a press pass. So I really didn't need to go to the meet and greets.
Right.
And so I was just like, okay, well, don't want to step over any bounds. And he goes, the one thing that it does not allow you to do though is you can interview anybody, kind of on the spot, but George Perez is the big guy that we have here at the con. And so he's a busy man and you're not allowed to interview him.
And for anyone who doesn't know, George Perez is
awesome.
First of all, he's super awesome. But he is a comic book, in my personal opinions, one of the great comic book artists and writer and just he's just in that industry. Super awesome person. And he's the big guy at the con. Like that's who they were kind of shoveling to the public.
Yeah, he's the guy.
George Perez is going to be here. Make sure you spend money on us. And so before you went there that day, I sent you with my copy of Infinity Gauntlet and asked if you could get that signed by him.
Yeah, because that was the thing. He was like, yeah, you can go up and get stuff signed by him, but you're not allowed to interview him. And I was like, oh, okay. It would have been really cool to interview him, but all right. So Laura and I are standing there, and at this point, I didn't really know who George Perez was. Scott had kind of told me a little bit and like shown me some of his work, and I looked him up online, and I was like, okay, yeah, he's a comic book artist. I get it. He's the main guy at this event, but he's not like Stan Lee or something. So I was like, whatever.
What ifs?
Yeah, I was like, it's not Stan Lee, then whatever. So we're standing there, and all of a sudden I hear a voice from over my shoulder say somebody's name, and then he's like, yeah, I'm just coming up to talk about like negotiating payment. Like, is it going to go through by check or by cash? And I turn to my right. Freaking George Perez standing right beside me. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I turned back and looked at Laura and I was like, that's the guy. That's him.
And Laura at this point lets out another, yay.
Yeah, Laura was like, wait, who? And I'm like, that's George Perez. And then she was like, oh, the guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
George Lopez?
No, oh my God.
different
Did you get to that video?
What? No, I didn't.
Okay, hold on. I gotta take a short little distraction here. In the video that we have with, I'm gonna go ahead and say it because I feel like the internet
Needs to know
because they like to make fun of people when they mess up.
Yep.
And I apologize to you guys over there, Asheville or Multiverse Asheville.
Oh, was that who it was?
But right at the beginning when I started interviewing him, and we'll put up the video online here soon.
Yeah.
If it's not up by the time this goes out. And right at the beginning of his interview, he's like, yeah, this is a great con. I mean, we got George Lopez over there. And I almost stopped him, but I was like, no, just let him keep going. So that happened.
Yep. So George Perez standing right next to you.
Yeah, George Perez standing right next to me.
Asking about money.
Asking about how he's getting paid. And I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh, I'm literally here before the con. Like, they're discussing business right now.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, this is like crazy. I feel like I'm some sort of crazy behind the scenes, awesome person. I don't know. I felt really cool about it. And
at that point, you slipped on sunglasses just to be like, yeah, what's up? I know what's happening.
Deal with it. But so yeah, George Perez standing there and he's talking about the money and stuff. So I'm explaining to Laura, oh my gosh, this is the guy. And I'm like freaking out. So George Perez, Laura and I were kind of setting up, like discussing, okay, what do we want to shoot video of first? Is there anybody that pops out like in cosplay that we want to talk to? And George Perez, I see him out of the corner of my eye, just start heading over towards his booth. And he gets over and sits down and just sits there.
Just waits?
Yeah, he didn't like pull out a computer or a phone and start like twiddling away at something. He just kind of sits there.
I imagine him just head tilted upwards to the sky, just thinking about life. Just, oh, this is nice. This is a nice day.
It was really, I don't know, it was kind of cool, I guess, just looking over and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like the famous person that's here. Right. And so I looked at the clock and I was like, well, it's still like 15 minutes before the con's supposed to start. So I don't know if I'm supposed to talk to him. But then I got this crazy idea and I looked over at Laura and I was like, okay, follow me, but don't like look like we're doing anything suspicious, okay? And she's like, what? And I'm just follow me. Just be cool. Be cool, okay? You're not crazy. So Laura and I start walking over and I looked back just to make sure. And I apologize for defying you. If you're listening to this,
guy who told me not to do this.
Mr. Ray. I've also apologized for forgetting your first name. I'm terrible with names.
Yep.
And so right after he had told me I'm not allowed to like talk to him, I go over and start talking to him.
Sneak over there.
And I was just like, yeah, so I got this copy of Infinity Gauntlet that I want to get signed. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's really nice. And he goes, oh, this is a nice worn copy. I really like that. That's really cool to see.
I want to just describe to you my copy of Infinity Gauntlet for those listening over the audio, because that's the only way you can listen to anything, really. It is my father's copy of Infinity Gauntlet that he's had for many years and decided to pass down to me. So it is very worn.
Very worn.
Very worn. But, it's one of those things where I have the idea that comic books are meant to be worn and read. And a lot of people tell me to, keep my comic books covered in a box somewhere so that they can, their value goes up over the years so I can sell them. And I'm like, that's dumb. No, I'm going to read them and I'm going to pass them on to my children who will read them as well. And if they don't like comics, I will force it down their throats because they are dead to me. So it's a very worn copy.
Yeah, very worn copy. So he's like, yeah, I really like this. It's really nice and worn. Been read it quite a few times. And I was like, yeah. Pretending that it was mine instead of being like going into the in-depth story.
You didn't even tell him it was mine?
No, because he didn't. Well, if he would have asked for a name to sign it to, I would have been like, oh, it's actually not for me, because he had asked me my name already. And
can you imagine if he asked you your name and then he signed it to Bryce? I would have murdered you.
I would have felt so bad. I probably would have stopped him and been like, no! Oh.
Because my name doesn't have any of those letters. It does, but doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So he signatures it and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I was really hoping to interview you, but the guy that runs the con said I'm not allowed to do that. And he literally didn't even take a second to think about it. And he goes, well, why not? And I kind of froze and I was like, wait, is that like, was he saying I can? Is he waiting on me to ask?
This
and I
is
was
all
like,
out loud to yourself.
No.
He's like,
Nope.
you're a crazy person. I changed my mind.
but he's just like, well, why not? And I was like, can we interview you? And he was like, yeah, sure. Come on, grab a chair, sit down.
Boom.
And I was just like, this is amazing. I don't know what's happening right now. I got a free press pass, and now I'm doing things I'm not supposed to do by talking to the most famous person here.
Yep.
And so,
and if you want to listen to that interview,
Yeah,
that is
on
also
YouTube.
on YouTube. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, then just search around for that. We'll put it in the link. We'll put the link into the description. And for those of you listening on iTunes, you should know we put these on YouTube now. So
Hey,
there you go. Lots of different things happening. Back to the story. So he was a genuinely nice person.
Oh my gosh.
I've listened to the interview a
Yeah.
couple times now, and he just seems like one of the nicest people
He-
in the world.
He was incredible to talk to. And I mean, I wish I would have recorded the stuff that he said afterwards too. Cause like, it was like, I got done with the interview, got up, he shook my hand and he's like, well, thanks. It's been really nice, really nice to talk to you, be able to be a part of this and stuff. And he said again, and I know he said it in the interview, but he said it again. He goes, my fans are really what drives me. It's what keeps me going. That's the only reason I am as big as I am is because of my fans. Mm-hmm. And he's like, so big shout out to that.
And he's like,
And
I'm
I
very
was-
grateful for the nerds of the world, is what he says.
Essentially, yeah, I don't know. It was just it was almost like being in his presence. I felt like he was just such a nice, genuine person. And normally you don't meet people like that at cons, to be honest.
Yeah.
Famous people anyway, because normally they're like, okay, I signed your book, get out of here.
Yeah, the way that I kind of look at it is at celebrities who do like signing tables and stuff. You meet like two kinds, I think. And if you've watched Galaxy Quest, which is something that Bryce did for the first time.
Yep, just here recently, a couple days ago.
At the very beginning of the movie, you have Tim Allen's character just engaging with his fans, having fun with it, signing stuff, and like really treating it like it's like their show is a real thing. Just being really, really nice. And then, like a couple minutes later, he comes back out, and his Tim Allen's character just signing. Go away, sign something, leave me alone, and those are about the two types of people that I think you see. And I think George Perez was definitely the first type where he was like, yeah,
so
come
nice.
on. He
It was
even
so
talked
cool.
about how if someone wanted a picture, he didn't want to do it with the table between them. He wanted them
Yeah.
to come around or he'll come out to them or,
Yeah.
something that cause he likes us. He
Yeah,
likes people.
it was kind of, I almost wish I would have taken him up on that, but at the same time, by the time I had actually sat down, talked to him, told him what NerdSync was about, started the interview, got done with the interview, did some like closing, like, oh, thanks, it's been really nice to talk to you, I actually handed him a flyer.
Whoa.
Yeah, because I was like, so we don't have business cards, but I have this flyer if you want it. And he was like, oh yeah, sure. And he just like takes it, and I was like, this is so cool.
Those are so old.
Yeah, those flyers. I printed those
fucking
last year about this time.
Yeah, almost 1 year ago. We have our old logo on them.
Mm-hmm.
We have a quote by Will Wheaton.
Yeah. And it was, I remember now because he pointed that out. He was like, I like that quote. I really like that. It's, what is it? It's not what you love.
Yeah, it's not what you
how
love.
you love
It's
it.
how you love it.
Yeah, he
by
was
Will
like, I
Wheaton.
like that. I like that quote. And he's like, all right, well, I'll hang on to this. And he like put it in his briefcase. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. But when I was talking to him, a line had kind of started to form because they opened the doors. And I was like,
And everyone was like, I want to be the first person to meet George Perez.
talk to him and stuff. And
I'm going to meet George Lopez today.
yeah, and I felt
I don't know why all of my nerd voices are angry, like, I gotta do this today.
I'm an angry nerd.
I'm not even angry. This is just how I talk. I really like your work, George Lopez.
I wonder if he's ever had anybody accidentally call him that.
Well, we know of one, but not to his
True.
face.
Yeah, not to his face though. I felt so bad. If you watch the video, I look up at his name tag every time before I say his name.
Yes.
He had a name tag hanging above his head, and I felt so bad because I felt like I was going to mispronounce his name or say something really dumb. So every time before I said his name, I would look up at his name tag and be like, so yeah, I'm here with George Perez, and then I go on talking.
What was really funny about that is you started by looking at his name tag and saying, "I'm here with look up George Perez," and then your next sentence was, "If you know anything about comics, then you know this man." And I'm like, "Well, obviously you don't know this man."
It wasn't that I didn't know; it was just
you just didn't want to screw up.
I didn't want to mess it up, and so
this was like a big thing.
This is like I feel like this is one of the biggest things we. Jesse Heyman was a pretty big thing.
Jesse Heyman was big. I want to say that George Perez is bigger. To me, anyway.
Yeah.
Because I'm fans
we got
of both
video
of them.
of him.
That's true.
So.
We also have video of him. I'm fans of both of those people.
Speaking of which, something I thought was funny. I didn't notice what he was wearing until afterwards. And
it is a crazy shirt.
Yeah. I went online to look up some of the other interviews that podcasts.
He always
and
wear
stuff
that
have
shirt?
done with us. No.
Oh.
No, but he mentioned he's so cool. This is why I think he's such a genuine guy. It's so cool. He, in another interview, one of the guys was like, "Yeah, I noticed you wear these like really awesome out there colored shirts. Where do we get stuff like that?" And he goes, "Actually, my wife makes all of my shirts."
What?
And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And he went on like just bragging on how awesome his wife is. And I was like, this man. I want to be this man.
He knows how to live life. When I was listening to the interview, he kept saying things like all these celebrities that he had met. And you should have seen my face as I was listening to it, because every name that he, like in progression, he would say like, "I met Stan Lee." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." He's like, "And I met Jack Kirby." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." He's like, "And I met Bob Kane and Joe Schuster and Jerry Siegel." I'm like, "What?" And then he's like, "And then I met Mark Hamill." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" So cool. So cool. And once again, if you want to watch that interview, it's a link in the description, or if it's on YouTube if you want to search for that. Also, I want to talk about just one more, a couple quick things about the different vendors that you met.
Oh yeah.
Because there was definitely one of them, the Model Blocks one, that
my
I thought
gosh,
was so cool. So tell everyone about modelblocks.com.
Oh my gosh.
Plugging them because I genuinely like their stuff.
Because they're awesome. Modelblocks.com.
Also, we're not getting paid to promote anything.
Not at all.
I just want to throw that out there.
I want to promote them because they're so cool. Yeah. I walked up and it was like, it looked like two kind of younger kids. Not kids, but like, 25 to like 28.
That's still older than you.
Yeah, that's still older than me.
As younger.
Because the guy that runs it, they're his kids.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know why I just referred to them as kids. Anyway, I walked up and I was like, "Oh, this is a really cool stand." And what it was blocks that looked like Minecraft blocks, but they weren't like the Lego blocks. They were actual like cubes, like blocks that were essentially what the name says, model blocks. And you can order sets of them that are already like not put together, but in pieces for like a villager house or a church or, a tree or a cave or a mountain or like whatever.
Yeah. And they're not like Lego, like you were saying. They're not like Legos where you can't stack them together.
It's literally like model blocks. You have to glue them.
Yeah. They're smooth on all sides. You have to put them together yourself.
Yeah. You actually have to like glue them together as if you were putting together a model. And so I thought that was a really cool idea. And I was like, this is really neat. And so I was like, well, hey, do you guys want to sit down for an interview? And they were like, well, actually, our dad's going to be back later if you want to come back by. So Laura and I took off, talked to some other people, did some other interviews. And it was like, they said he was going to be back at like 5. And it was like 4:30. And we were getting ready to leave the con. And I looked at my watch and I went, oh my gosh, we never went back to that booth. And I was like, oh, snap, we need to get back there. And so we headed back there just right as they were packing up. And I was like, hey, are you the guy that runs this? And he's like, oh, yeah. And then he was like, my kids said that somebody stopped by. Was that you guys? And I was like, yeah, that was us. And so I'm so glad somebody remembered us.
They said Bryce from NerdSync stopped by specifically.
I feel like that wasn't
No,
it.
probably not.
But he was like, yeah, I'll sit down and talk to it. And so essentially what it is, and you can go watch the interview on YouTube because I'm sure it'll either be up by then or be up soon after this, for the full interview anyway. But essentially what it is, the basic idea is through a printing process that he couldn't fully disclose, obviously, because
Trade secret
and stuff. Ancient Chinese secret.
Magic must defeat magic.
So what it is, through a printing process, he actually takes blank dice, like without the holes, drilled into them for the dice, just all blank dice,
blank.
solid white, blank
or
dice.
sometimes
Different colors, like
Right.
clear blue and clear red for water and lava. And what he does is he takes those and puts them through this printing process that he does, and it prints blocks from Minecraft onto these cubes.
on cubes, on dice.
Yeah, right there on the table, he had a really cool display. And if you go watch the video, you'll understand. He had a cool model display that he had put together of a couple houses, some trees. He actually had a mountain sitting on the table, but when we got there, it kind of wasn't a mountain anymore. He said that somebody, maybe his son, had dropped it when they got it out of the truck that morning. And so it had fallen apart. I think he said it was his son. I'll feel really bad if it wasn't now.
You just set him up. What if they were launching a full-scale investigation into this and Bryce said it was you. Get over here. No, Dad, I didn't do it. No.
Well, he's 27.
I understand,
so I feel
but
like
that's my 27-year-old voice.
Oh, no, Dad. No, Dad, I didn't do it. No. I mean, it was one of the most unique displays I'd ever seen. Looking at all the other vendors, they have some really cool, original stuff. Like, some people do leather armor, and some people do, metal crafting and stuff like that. That's really cool stuff that you don't see just every day. But I saw a lot of that at Dragon Con.
But you did not see
I did
model
not
blocks.
see model blocks. And I was like, this is so cool. And he even said, he was like, yeah, we tried to get a vendor spot at Dragon Con this year. But then we looked into it, and he was like, we realized we sell about, he said, on average, for every person that, because they keep a counter, I guess. He said for every person that visits their stall, they sell about 4 blocks. Because there are people
average,
that,
right.
on average, because there are people that don't buy.
There are people that buy a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it evens out to about 4 blocks a person. He goes, if you account for how many people are at Dragon Con, and if every person that passed by bought 4 blocks, he was like, I would run out of stock in 40 minutes. And I was like, oh.
So
yeah.
you need to bulk order some of
this
this stuff.
Exactly. They're a small company, independently owned. They're not working with Mahjong or Notch or any of the other Minecraft
they have
people.
to use different
in order
packs.
to print the blocks. That's the slightly unfortunate thing about it, is they can't use the original Minecraft texture. But what's really cool is they can use custom Minecraft textures. So they have a website that they're working with called PaineryPack.com, which is a website that you can go on. You can actually look through a bunch of different options and make your own Minecraft texture pack or resource pack. It's called a resource pack now. And you essentially, after you've created that texture pack or resource pack, you can send him the resource pack and say, okay, from this resource pack, I need 300 dirt blocks and 400 wood block, or just something a lot smaller than that.
Yeah.
That was a really crazy number.
That was a lot of
I'm
building a life-sized house out of model blocks. I'm gonna need
interesting.
I'm gonna need 4 million wood blocks. It's a log cabin.
That would be. I wonder if that would hold together. If you just glued a bunch of blocks
crazy
together.
glued dice together.
Maybe.
Only if it was multiple layers and not just one thin layer.
Yeah, not one
for
thin
a
layer.
wall.
Yeah.
It could probably work, but
I would
also
think it would hold
probably not.
And
who
it would-
knows? Physics.
Yeah, anyway.
What are we, nerds?
But not only can you use the PaineryPack.com, but if you paint your own custom resource pack, you can still send that to him as long as it's your own work, because you can't use anybody's work that you don't have the rights to. Otherwise, you can be sued, and being sued is not okay.
I think that's some sort of PSA about
Yeah, that was, don't do that, guys. Don't use other people's stuff.
do not do that. We have never done that. We have never used
ever.
anything that wasn't ours. We have never used Burt Ward saying, here we go again, Batman, at the beginning of each podcast. We have never done that.
We totally asked for his opinion.
Yeah, his opinion. He
His
did
permission?
He did not give us approval, but he said, that's my voice. And I'm like, thank you for that.
I needed that. Thanks.
Just wanted to make sure. My Burt Ward voice sounds a lot like my angry nerd voice. Ah, yeah, that's my voice. Yeah.
But yeah, so they were just I don't know, it's just really cool. And that's one of those things too, is and I said this I don't know if we'll ever put up a full mixed video of everything I interview.
Yeah, you put a lot of clips together.
There's a lot of clips of the con. So at one point I say, kind of like as a closing remark, I'm like, I really love just being able to hang out with the people there. And that's so true, because that was one of the things, even though I was mainly talking to vendors, because let's be honest, I only wanted to interview people in cosplay, so I wasn't stopping every Joe Schmo that walked by me and was like, I want to be on the podcast.
Right.
So I mainly talked to vendors, but it was so cool to be able to talk to them, and they're like, yeah, we're like family, After a while, you start bumping into the same vendors every time you go to a con, and it's the same way with the people of cons, You start, like, if you go to cons regularly, you're going to bump into people that also go to cons regularly. So it's just like this awesome community that's kind of formed, and you get to share your stories, and just like, in almost a nerdy way, you're sharing your backstory and your character profile. You're sharing your
origin and your motivation and your obligation.
Yeah. And then you crit fail and nobody likes you.
That's right. But you also, you triumph, and then everyone's like, you fail, but you triumph. So nobody likes you, but
you get free press passes
for life. Nobody wants to talk to you, but you get free stuff.
Yeah.
I play Edge of the Empire.
So it was, I don't know, it was just a really cool experience. Even though I didn't get to interview like a bunch of people in cosplay or anything, it was just really cool to be there in that community, knowing that this con was just starting off. Dragon Con is so huge that there are always people to talk to. There are always people around. There's always people doing stuff.
Sometimes too many.
Sometimes
if you're like me and you don't like crowds, why would you choose to go to a place with giant crowds? Why did I do that? It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, would you go again next year?
Oh my gosh, yes. If they have Marble City Comicon, I'd go again.
If they don't give you press passes for some reason, would you still find a way to go? That's what it is. That's what it is. I will go if it's free. Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, this year I thought about actually paying for a pass when I heard about it, but then
how much was it?
It was $40 for the entire weekend, or $20 per day. Yeah, not really bad.
That's not bad at all. Dragon Con was a lot.
The only reason we got in for $100 a piece was because we ordered in advance.
We ordered in advance, and was there a group deal, or did we just wish that to be?
We kind of wished that was the thing.
All right.
I think there might be a group deal if you order like 10 tickets or more.
Oh, we didn't do that.
No, we did not.
But we should order lots of multiple tickets just so we can get a deal on our tickets, even though we're paying much more money.
Well, I mean, if we sold them on eBay for profit.
Okay. Just scalp tickets outside of all the hotels.
So you want to go to the con this weekend? No, I'm here to visit some family. Buy more tickets. Buy it. But yeah, it was really cool. I'd definitely go again next year, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm sure next year they would. The problem with this year was that, first of all, it was the first year.
They didn't have a lot of big stuff.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot of big stuff. They had George Perez, but other than that, everything was kind of more local, independent stuff.
I almost corrected you and said George Lopez. In my mind, I'm convinced that George Lopez was there.
But I guess my only issue with it, and I told the people that hosted this, I told them, I was like, I didn't know this was going on until the day before.
So just a lot more.
Yeah.
A lot more promotion and stuff.
Yeah, if they promote it better next year, I'm sure it'll have a huge turnout. And secondly, come on, Knoxville, let's learn how to act at a con. Nobody goes back to their hotel until either A, they are completely drunk and they just really need to leave, or B, it's like 5 a.m. and they realize, oh, hey, there's stuff I want to do tomorrow. I should probably go to sleep.
So people should stay out later.
Yeah, because everybody
have dance parties.
I mean, I got there on Saturday, which is normally, like, from what I understand, not just at Dragon Con, but from most cons, Saturday. Like this Saturday at Marble City, they did the costume contest. So everybody shows up. Yeah, everybody shows up on Saturday in costume, and then you normally hang out afterwards and are like, oh yeah, I was that guy that was on stage that got 17th place. Look at me in my awesome costume.
Heck yeah. It's made of styrofoam and rubber bands.
Oh yeah.
My mom said I wouldn't win anything. Take that, Mom. Participation ribbon. I did just want to say one thing. You said GameStop was sponsoring Marble City Comicon, but I believe you said
they weren't really sponsoring.
They had a booth there.
They had a booth there.
Okay.
They were sponsoring it in the way of they were telling people about
They're
it.
promoting it so that people would come and see their booth.
GameStop has this really cool new thing that we do now where we don't have to necessarily ask corporate for permission to do stuff like that.
You can just do it.
Yeah, so our GameStop was like, heck yeah, we're going to do this.
And I believe you told me that they did not do very well sales-wise.
They didn't. See, there again, that's the thing. There were just not a huge number of people at this con.
Not hitting the right
not hitting the right
niche,
demographic there.
So there weren't a lot of were there a lot of video game things, or was it mostly just...
It was mostly comic book and independent film.
Okay.
There was the
GameStop
room.
Yeah. The first year is very important because that's going to establish what goes on and what people remember. So if it's known for independent film and comic books, then people are going to go, hey, you should check out this con next year. It's mostly about independent film and comic books, and then more people will come for that, and then throughout the future, it'll just be known as the comic book and independent film con, and then there won't be any video games. Is there any very last thing that you want to say about the overall thing? I know you said...
I mean, there were some other people I interviewed. Those just happen to be the two that stuck out. Obviously, George Perez.
Yep.
And
Model Blocks. It's creative.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. There were some artists.
I also interviewed an artist, I believe it was Billy Tackett.
Billy Tackett.
I wanted to call him David for some reason.
You are terrible with names,
Yeah,
aren't
I am
you?
so bad with names. I apologize. But yeah, Billy Tackett, he's got some really cool artwork. That was a cool interview too. And then also Multiverse Asheville was another one.
Yeah, who thought George Lopez were there?
Just thought George Lopez was there.
And they're like another podcast or something?
Yeah, they're another podcast. They're centered out of Asheville.
Yeah.
Which is down the way from us.
Cool. All right. That will about do it for this episode of the NerdSync podcast, recorded for the first time in Bandy. I want to say in Bandy Road.
In the Bandy Road studio.
No, I want to say from Bandy
From Bandy, yeah.
From Bandy
Coming from
Road.
you live from
But
Bandy Road
it's not really
studio.
live is the thing.
Coming from you pre-recorded from Bandy Road studio.
Coming from you?
Coming from...
This is too confusing. We're in a recording studio.
Yeah.
It is called Bandy Road.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, definitely like and leave
Also
a comment.
subscribe.
And subscribe.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, give us comments about any experience of a con that you've had.
Good or bad.
Good or bad. If you've
Drunk
met
people.
If you've met
rabbit
George
ladies.
Perez or George Lopez, either one of the two of them. Tell us stories about that. That'd be really fun. Or any other celebrity that you met.
Would George Lopez be at any sort of a Comic-Con for any reason?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I can't think of anything that he was... I don't know. Who cares? I watched a lot of his TV show. Anyway, so you can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. And Bryce, you're on Twitter.
I am on Twitter at Renny of Yore.
And that's RENNYOF. YORE.
I don't post often, but when I do, it's usually at least worthwhile.
That's what you like to think. We'll let everyone else decide whether it's worthwhile or not.
That's true.
You can also follow his cousin from the Deep South at Kenny of Yore.
Gosh dang it! I hate
Which
you so
I
much.
wish whoever made that account, I wish they would tweet more, but like tweet more Southern style stuff. That'd be really funny. And then of course you can follow me on Twitter at Scott Niswander, just my name. And you can also join us next week or sometime. I don't know when we're going to have these out. We're in a weird transitional period of podcast stuff.
Summer and school and people not being places.
Right.
And
so
also Nick's getting married.
Nick's getting married, guys.
Yeah, that's a thing that's going to happen.
So wish him luck on that. And we'll catch you guys later. See ya.
All right, see you later.
Well, there you go, guys. I hope that episode was pretty interesting. I know that sometimes we have much more guests on, but I thought it was cool to just have Bryce and I sit down, kind of one-on-one go through his experience about the whole thing. And if you guys have ever gone to any cons, or if you think that this sounded cool, if you went to this one actually and Bryce didn't see you there or whatever, please let us know. Please comment on all of this stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this on YouTube, you can do so in the comments below. And of course, if you are on iTunes, please just go and rate and review us really quickly. It doesn't take too much time, but it does help us out a lot. You can always follow NerdSync Productions on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all that jazz. And we will see you guys next week for more of the NerdSync podcast. See ya.